Welcome to the Upshot, multi-world disc golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the publisher and the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield. Josh, Waco coming up this weekend. Back to some Elite Series disc golf. You feeling excited?
I am. I'm always feeling excited about Elite Series disc golf, and I also am feeling refreshed about the Texas swing, because while Waco is the only one this year that is going to be a stop that we've seen on the Texas swing this year, and I think that also gives me a little bit more it gives me permission to be more excited about Waco as a result. So. Because now it's not like, oh, we're going to see the exact same lineup of Texas. Like I'm excited about that, and I think that bodes well and makes me more excited for Waco as well.
Yeah, open at Austin coming up around the corner. I'm very curious.
Yeah,
very curious. It can't be worse than last year's Texas State's course. How about this, Josh? Real quick, feature cards for the live stream round one coverage, which by the way is now free on YouTube. Remember, as we know, they took the final round free, and they said, no. You got to pay for that now. We'll give you the first round free.
Yeah.
First taste is free. And here's your feature cards. Over on the MPO side, it is going to be Paul Macbeth, Kevin Jones, Isaac Robinson, and Gannon Burr. A former prodigy.
Sounds like a great lineup. Two current prodigy.
Is it right to call it former? It's like
I don't know. I think all you're missing is Will Shoestrick for a bad Thanksgiving dinner. Like you put Shoestrick in instead of Macbeth, and like that's
a bad Thanksgiving dinner. Also, a truly, obviously you got Paul, and then you have a truly elite player in Gannon Burr, and a couple of all right players in the eyes of prodigy. We don't have that. We don't have that top level pro out there.
I thought you were being serious for half a second, and I'm like, holy crap! Like I don't know if Kevin's on Paul's level, but like, geez, Charlie. And then it's what Prodigy said in the lawsuit. Oh my gosh. What an L. I've got a question for you, Charlie, that I've been dying to ask for weeks.
Okay, wait. Let me give you the FPO. Give you the FPO.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
And
you're
then
right.
you go.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
FPO, Paige Pierce.
Okay.
Kristen Tatar. Love it.
Yep.
Luca Lorenzen.
Yep.
Okay. Another European in action.
European.
And Caroline Henderson.
Oh my God.
I'm not making it up, Josh. Confirm it for yourself if you want, folks.
Who? Because the way this works is like
the hype train is
doesn't
insane right now.
How is this selected?
Well, they have a process for doing this, and I don't remember exactly how it all goes. It's like the tournament picks one, the DGPT picks one,
former winner.
Yeah. But no Valerie this year, so
the title sponsor usually gets to pick one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Charlie, here's what I just realized. Isn't Leica Lorenzen Prodigy sponsored?
I think she is. This is a Prodigy tournament, right?
So
she's their best FPO player, right?
She is 934, and you, as this title sponsor, are putting a player who is 54 points behind Kristen Tatar as your brand representative on this card.
I mean, what are you gonna do? They made the bed. I mean,
they did.
I think I like her game. I think she could play well here. I think this is the kind of layout where she could do really well. But Caroline Henderson is on the feature card.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Anyway, that was a great interview on Tuesday. People have been talking about it online. I think people are going to want to tune in and see what's going on. I know I do.
They are.
She's talking about shooting a 900 in a practice round. Like, what if she shoots the hot round on that card?
Yeah. Plus, Plus, I don't have to use Vimeo to watch it. You know I'm tuning into this. Maybe this is actually the smartest play in the world, because now I watch early rounds. Because like for final rounds, I would tolerate Vimeo, right? Like whatever, it's final round world championships. Of course I'm going to put up with it to watch that. But now I'll put up with it anyway, but I'll watch the early rounds because I don't have to put up with Vimeo, so the
enjoy it
cost
on
there is a
YouTube.
little less. Yeah. That's big brain play here. All right. Question I've been dying to ask for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Spring training is back.
Baseball, yes.
What do you think of the pitch clock?
I got to be honest with you. I haven't watched a second of baseball yet.
No. I've been waiting for weeks to ask you
the
this
Giants
question.
played
I
Team
know you've been on
USA last
vacation.
night because they got the World Baseball Classic or whatever. I think the Giants won.
Yeah.
But I haven't even watched a highlight yet. I'm not ready. I'm still watching basketball. I'm getting back
Okay.
from vacation.
All right.
In general, I think I like it without having watched it yet. I see no reason that we need to take forever between pitches. I always like, watching, Johnny Cueto get the ball back, and he'd do some weird stuff sometimes, but he would throw the ball down to the plate. And it drives me crazy when a guy steps off, rubs the ball up, touches the hat, Let's get it going. I feel the same way about disc golf. It should sound pretty similar to how
the whale sack up,
puts it back down, picks it back up, puts it back down. We need an actual clock. We need the Nico stopwatch on screen sponsorship during disc golf tournaments, and if they go over, there's like a cattle prod or something zaps them. All right, well, before we talk Waco, we're going to have to talk a little bit about some business news that came out yesterday. Dynamic Discs being acquired by the Latitude 64 parent company called House of Discs. And so Jeremy Rusco, the sole owner of DD, which I didn't know that, but had 100% of the shares in DD, has sold the company to this bigger parent company, which now includes Latitude 64, Westside Discs, Castoplast, couple other smaller brands, DD now. So Trilogy is now fully integrated under one roof. And, of course, this follows Latitude 64 getting acquired by a pair of private equity companies back last summer. So we're starting to see, it's hard to know. We don't have a lot of details about the size of these companies, Josh, because none of the American companies are publicly traded and have no obligation to file any kind of financial statements or disclosures. But I would have to bet that now this new House of Discs company has to be one of the biggest companies in disc golf that's going to rival an Innova, that's going to rival a Discraft, just given the size of what DD is in the US and what Latitude is in Europe, along with the contracts that they have with Discmania, which, by the way, you got to think Discmania could be considered as another potential acquisition target for this company, right? Mm-hmm. So pretty interesting. What do you make of this news?
A couple of things. Number one, I think that when you understand and think back to the pandemic and the supply chain issues, whoever controls the injection molding machines controls the market. And that became very apparent during the pandemic. And now, with this, as you mentioned, private equity backing, the manufacturing side and the actual manufacturing side, right? I know Discmania is a manufacturer, Infinite plays as a manufacturer, but they're not the ones doing the discs themselves. And having that kind of money behind it's very clear now that you can be a small subsidiary brand that's selling discs manufactured by an actual manufacturer. But I'm trying to remember, I think there's a term in, I think in F1, there are like manufacturers, and then there are like companies that don't manufacture their own parts, but just outsource them elsewhere, right? So like Ferrari makes their own car, but I think it's like Haas or Williams. They just piece together cars from other manufacturers in order to make theirs. That's really kind of feels like a distinction that's starting to become important in disc golf about whether or not you are a manufacturer or you're a
brand,
something
basically.
else. There's probably a business term.
A brand that buys wholesale discs from a manufacturer, white labeled, and then resells them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. And I really think that the consolidation around the power of manufacturers is you talked about how long do these smaller brands last? And would we see consolidation of smaller brands in the future? And Dynamic Discs is by no means a small brand, but I think it is a trend in disc golf that we're going to see brands become consolidated around manufacturers, with more and more control being given to the manufacturers thanks to supply chain issues and just understanding the market. And this is the first step in that domino.
And look at what we saw during the pandemic. We saw the companies that had the machines prioritize their own lineups when no one had enough discs. So what happened? Innova was like, you know what, Discmania? Forget it. We're gonna play a little rope-a-dope over here. Yeah, we're gonna make some for you soon. But they make 6 months of their own products and no Discmania discs. What did Discmania do? They said, well, we got to get out of here. This isn't working for us. And I think you see a similar story elsewhere. It was hard for DD to get discs. Why? Because Latitude had to make their own discs. And so when you're faced, and I think this is an obvious friction point with the kind of relationship that they had previously. They have a handshake deal, right? Not a contract. Doesn't specify, here's how many discs you have to make for me on this timeline of these days, this times. None of that. It's just like, you're going to make discs for me. We'll help you with U.S. distribution in the United States. It worked great for 10 years. It really did. But I'm not surprised to see that this is where it goes, because at the end of the day, when Latitude is like, what are we going to prioritize? They're obviously going to choose their own brand and their own lineup of discs to be the primary ones that get the newest technology, that get the best plastics, that get the that get the machine time. And so naturally, the companies that are actually making the plastic hold the cards. There's nothing stopping, unless you have a written contract, there's nothing stopping a company that makes the discs from saying, you know what, we're just not going to make your discs for 2 months. And then what are you going to do? So this just makes a lot of logical sense. There's already been a very close business relationship here for a long time. But I'm going to be really curious to talk to Jeremy Rusco about it and just, why did he decide to sell? We're going to talk to him next.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the U.S., employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality U.S. materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Joining us now on the Upshot is Dynamic Discs founder Jeremy Rusco. Jeremy, it's always good to have you on the show. Thanks for coming back and joining us today.
Hey, Charlie. Appreciate you guys letting me be on the show and looking forward to what the conversation is going to bring.
Well, I think first and foremost, congratulations on selling your company after, a little over 10 years. What has the journey been like with DD back from the early days when you didn't even sell discs initially, right?
Well, so the journey started 18 years ago, actually. It was just a little college eBay hobby. Bought 100 discs from Discraft and put them up on eBay and sold a disc the first week and a disc the second week and sold some discs to some local friends and definitely saw that, maybe there's something there, but didn't expect for it to be much more than a college hobby to fund my disc golf passion. And ultimately, that's what I was working to do, was to sell enough stuff to fund my disc golf hobby. And 10 years, 10 years ago, we partnered up with Latitude 64 to become our disc manufacturing partner. And fast forward to today, some pretty exciting news with the recent announcement of being part of House of Discs, getting acquired by venture capitalist firms, and definitely looking forward to seeing where this is going to take us.
What would you say? Were you expecting to get to this point where you would think about, I'm going to sell my company? Like, even if you go back a couple of years ago, were you anticipating this?
Well, people for years were telling me, "Oh, you're going to get, venture capitalists, or somebody's going to come buy your company," and I was kind of like, "Okay, sure, whatever." I don't, it actually wasn't even like an interest. It kind of in one ear and out the other. I guess as the business kept growing and more people become interested in disc golf, I definitely started to see an increase in emails from interested companies that wanted to acquire and get involved in disc golf, phone calls, some in-person discussions at some trade shows and things like that. But it wasn't really, I didn't really have the intention to move forward with anything, and definitely been enjoying what I've been doing. So I didn't really want to, I guess we'll say, complicate the process and the sole ownership aspect of it and being the ultimate decision maker. But after these venture capital firms made the decision they're going to get involved with disc golf, they acquired Latitude 64, also known as Mountain Village, which also included Castoplast, and due to our interconnected relationship as Latitude 64 being our manufacturing partner, and also us equally owning Westside Discs, and just how much business we do together, definitely wanted to entertain and listen to the conversations. And that started about a year ago, and here we are today, and we got to the finish line. So
how long has this process taken? When did you first start discussing it? I know these things take much longer than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, well, it literally started in terms of the initial discussion was right at a year ago, and was kind of painted a picture that it was going to come together, I guess, a little bit quicker than what it is now. But I think part of that was the complexity of it being such a European venture capitalist with United States companies, and also I think the change in the market was probably a little bit of a challenge as well, that the venture capitalists were trying to understand. Obviously, we hit this short-term peak in the market during the COVID explosion, and things have much like all outdoor recreation. It feels like things kind of have settled down to the new reality of what things are going to be, and we've been facing a lot of headwinds in the world, in the market. And anyway, we're a year later, here we are, and I'm excited for the future for Dynamic Discs and every company that's involved in disc golf, every company that's involved with House of Discs, as well as just disc golf in general. I think there's going to be some good things that come with this, and I'm sure we'll touch on that here shortly.
Well, absolutely. And sorry, Charlie, if I can ask one more follow-up then. Before we move over to the disc company side, I guess I have one more question, a little bit more for about you, Jeremy. You say that then the article that I know Charlie worked with you in writing, it says that you are reinvesting back into the parent company and joining the board of directors. You may not answer this question, and that's fine, but I'm curious to know what level of ownership you are going to have in that parent company. Are we talking less than 5%, less than 10%? And if you're not going to share, I completely understand. But I am curious to know kind of where that sits relative to, the private venture capital company as well.
Well, Josh, I appreciate and glad to know that you read the article. In terms of, what my reinvestment level looks like, I guess for me personally, it's a significant reinvestment. A majority of it went back into House of Discs, because I passionately believe in House of Discs and what's going to be accomplished there in terms of the specific numbers and things like that. We're going to dodge that question for right now.
But
I am definitely not a majority owner as fully expected, and ultimately the venture capitalist. That's part of the deal, is they want majority ownership and control, and that totally makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What made you decide to sell? You were reluctant in the past. Why sell? Because you've had all this growth. You've got your new warehouse. You're expanding your presence in retail locations. There's all the signs that Dynamic Disc is going to continue to grow without any kind of infusion of capital from the outside. So why make this choice?
Yeah, well, it's complex and definitely been a roller coaster of emotions and everything in this process. Ultimately, I do believe in where things are going with House of Discs, and it was that these venture capitalists are getting involved in disc golf. Their intention was to acquire multiple disc golf companies, and with Latitude 64 being the first to jump on board. It definitely with our interconnected, all the business that we do together, it definitely made the decision easier and one that I was willing and interested in listening to. So, and over the years, it's definitely been, like Latitude 64, the production machine over there in Sweden, do they make a dynamic disc Spellen or do they make a Latitude 64 Pioneer? And, there's just different things. And where it's like, okay, well, we're at max capacity. Do we make all Latitude 64 discs? Do we make Westside? Do we make dynamic? What percentage of each company do we make? And ultimately now with us being in complete alignment together, those decisions are going to become much, much easier because ultimately at the end of the day, every company that's underneath a House of Discs benefits, and that's the ultimate goal there. And then to touch base more on why I wanted to go down this path is I really do believe that these venture capitalists and the connections that they have and the motivations that they have are going to do more for disc golf in terms of getting it more recognition, more people interested, in due time. And in 5-7+ years, does this House of Discs go to a publicly traded company that gets even more people's interest? Don't know if that'll be the case or not, but that's certainly one of the things that is on the table. And I definitely think that would be one thing that really gets more people involved and interested in what disc golf really is. And I think that, as well as getting gambling done with, I don't know if to say legalized, mainstream, but I think that would be something that really, if we could get Vegas involved in, I think that would be a really good thing. People that have no idea what disc golf is are going to become interested in figuring out who they need to spend their $10 bet on.
Trust me, I know it's true. There's legal DraftKings betting on the Ultimate Frisbee Professional League, and I see the threads online of random people getting the tips and putting down huge amounts of money on the Frisbee. And it would be way more in disc golf because of how much bigger it is. I completely agree. Josh, go ahead.
Yeah. In terms of operations, I mean, right now you have kind of like we've talked about Latitude 64, primarily European based. You've got Dynamic Discs Emporia. How is that going to change? How are day-to-day operations going to change in terms of the marketing, the back end stuff, and how you're going to operate as Dynamic Discs? I know that you are stepping away from the day-to-day operations as much, but I'm curious to know how that is the plan moving forward in terms of those companies.
Yeah, well, for right now, it's business as usual. I guess you could say we've navigated a kind of a challenging year as a lot of companies have, seen. There's certainly a lot of us we planned and prepared for growth at a level that it had been at for the previous couple of years, and that wasn't there, which had us need to make a couple adjustments, much like a lot of companies in the world. We're certainly going to utilize our staff, our resources more as a collective group in terms of, maybe let's just say like on the graphic design side, let's just use as a reference Castoplast. Maybe there's a Castoplast graphic or, campaign that needs to be put together. And maybe the best way to put that together is through some of the resources, we'll say in Emporia at Dynamics headquarters, which is now, the at this point, House of Discs headquarters. And definitely think there's just going to be some ways to streamline things and make sure that we operate as efficiently as possible, and not the mentality of us versus them. And one of the other things I think is really exciting, I didn't touch base on earlier, is as Dynamic Disc as a whole has not really focused on worldwide growth over there, like especially in Europe. We've sponsored some players. We've dabbled in the market. Obviously, Latitude 64 has been selling our products, distributing our products, our discs, our bags, our baskets to whatever scale they're doing. But they're, I guess you could say, on their side, their passion has been for Latitude 64, much like on our side over here in Emporia, Kansas. It's been Dynamic Discs. And so I think that now that it doesn't matter what brand is pushed, it's all good for House of Discs, which is ultimately what's good for everybody that's involved. So I'm excited for that growth as well.
Well, when I talked to you a day or two ago now, I asked about the potential for U.S. based manufacturing of discs for the, whether that's DD or just in general, Casaplast, whoever. What is your expectation on the timeline for that? Because I know that there's been, especially during the pandemic, there were huge, major shipping challenges. Just getting discs from Europe to the United States was a pain. So is that something that you're hoping to do as soon as possible? Is that something that's more like a 5-year project? When do you think that you'd have U.S.-based manufacturing?
The next step is to really get the group formalized with the other couple, hopefully key, acquisitions that the brands that are going to be a part of House of Discs. And then I think that, I'm working on getting the manufacturing facility set up in the United States is the next step in terms of a timeline. I don't know that yet. Too early to, too early. I haven't been, I guess, briefed on anything there necessarily, but we certainly know that it costs a lot of money to get all the product over here. That we know that the U.S. market is the most relevant disc golf market. We want to have made in the USA, something that we can do and stand behind. And the timing of everything. Basically we try to plan and prepare 4 to 5 months out right now, and that's there's just a lot of challenges that go with that. Obviously, having stateside manufacturing all at the World Headquarter building would certainly be a tremendous benefit, and we'll definitely get there. Just a matter of when. I'm sure we'll talk about that in an upcoming podcast as soon as I know more.
What other brands is House of Disc looking to acquire? If you're listening on the podcast and you're not watching on YouTube, Jeremy just sealed his lips with a zipper. Got it. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how much I could say. What I will say is it was interesting on some of the messages that I've got or received yesterday from some of the other brands, manufacturers out there in terms of, one, congratulations, and two, what's it look like for me to get involved. And so, it'll be interesting. Yeah. I mean, hey,
yeah, I love.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna say we get you going in a nice rhythm of like the operation side, and then we drop one of those questions in there. So what's your stake in the company now? Who else is coming up on the manufacturing side? We're hoping you're gonna keep rolling. What does your role look like moving forward now that you're under House of Discs, and what do you imagine your position looking like? What are you gonna be focusing on?
Yeah, so I've been at it hard for 18 years, and in most regards, loved every minute of it. Of course, every minute of it is certainly. I mean, I got some gray hairs. I got a lot of them, and my hair actually started falling out at one point. And they said it was from stress. I don't know. I didn't feel like I was that stressed, but maybe I was. But yeah, moving forward, I guess I'm, and we've talked about me being more of a strategic advisor. Obviously, I'm going to be on the board of directors of House of Discs, but focused on key initiatives of where's going to be the most growth to happen inside the companies and in disc golf in general. So one of the things that I and we believe in is expanding our partner network, or the franchise operations. There's quite a few. I think there's almost a dozen dynamic discs pro shops across the United States right now, and we definitely want to expand that. We want to put in more disc golf courses, take an aggressive approach on putting in more disc golf courses, because we all know that the more disc golf courses that are out there, the more people are going to see disc golf, be interested in playing disc golf, and that's a big win for anybody that's involved in disc golf, and not only in the United States, but Canada, Mexico, Latin America, South America, and we all know that the European market is absolutely blowing up with disc golf enthusiasts, and it goes beyond that. And so, yeah, that'd be something. Certainly would love to see disc golf become an Olympic sport at some point. So going to continue to push for that to happen. Of course, most of that is working with PDGA and World Flying Disc Federation. Yeah, let's figure out how we get people gambling on disc golf too, huh?
Okay, well, I know if I ask you straight up, you're not going to tell me, so I'm going to just throw a number at you. My estimate, which is totally out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't want to see the lips get sealed up again. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of basis for this number, to be honest. But I know some of the contracts that you are paying to DD sponsored players. I know generally the size of the industry and kind of what kinds of sales we're seeing in disc golf. I know that we've seen a huge expansion, of course, of the sport, and everybody's revenues going way up over the last few years. My guess is that your company got bought for $25 million. Your comment. He did it again, folks. Fair enough. I would say, I guess, let me ask you this. Is it fair to say that even after you invested a significant chunk of money back into this company, that you have taken out enough to be very financially stable with you and your family for the future?
Well, I think that is we'll say that's a pretty safe assumption. And let me tell you why that is a safe assumption, Charlie.
Okay.
That is a safe assumption because I have had two personal vehicles my entire life. I drove a 1994 Ford Explorer from when I got it in 1998 until 2014.
Nice.
I bought a brand new F-150 in 2014 and almost had a heart attack, I think, by getting talked into that. I still have that F-150 today. It's got 105,000 miles on it, and I think I got about 10 more years to go on it. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I've been very blessed, very fortunate. Have certainly, there for quite a few years. My wife, as a nuclear chemist, she funded the Rusco household. She made a very nice salary, had great benefits. Dynamic. I put everything back into dynamic discs to make sure that we could keep growing as quickly as possible. Actually grew the company up until 2012 as a debt-free company. Had no loans, didn't have anything financed. Didn't have to finance that Ford Explorer. As we really started to grow, I mean, it definitely, I think this is an important thing for people to hear. It doesn't take money to make money, but if you want to scale up and grow quicker, it definitely takes more money to scale up and grow quicker. And something else that I think is important for people to hear too is, as I look back on the dynamic disk journey along the way, it's changed everything. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like change. I don't like change." And as I think about that, it's like, well, the only thing that's ever happened at Dynamic Discs is change. And if nothing did change along the way, it would be me selling discs on eBay and shipping those discs out on eBay and answering the emails myself and taking all the phone calls. And so, but the important thing there is that, you don't have to be a big company to be successful. You don't have to, you can be a solo operation, running your own show. You don't have to scale up. As you scale up, you obviously got maybe more headaches, maybe more problems, and maybe less control. Whereas if if you're doing things yourself and you're making the money that makes you happy and you're happy in what you do, that can be just as important as growing to, I guess we'll say, the big size of the company that or the medium size, or the small medium size of what Dynamic Discs grew into over the years. And I guess I just would encourage any entrepreneur or business owner to know that success doesn't necessarily mean getting big. So you can do it small and enjoy what you're doing, or you can go the different route. And I guess you could say I went the different route. I don't even know if I answered that. I answered the question there. I forget what was asked.
That's fine. I'm curious. Where do you think House of Discs, as it stands today, fits into the landscape in terms of size of company relative to an Innova, to a Discraft, to some of the big long-standing players?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that's kept internally with disc golf, as we all know. I kind of think that's unfortunate, but I also get why it is that way, I suppose. But I actually believe that we have the largest production facility. We've got the most production capacity out of any of the manufacturers, and with the 24/7, 365 automated production machine that's in place over there. It's definitely able to produce the most discs, and obviously now that there's more brands underneath of House of Discs, it's certainly there's a lot of production needs, and we'll say Latitude 64 scaled up the most aggressively during the course of the pandemic and right after the pandemic than any other manufacturer, in my opinion. So that's that.
One of the quotes from the article says that, quote, "This could become a publicly traded company, and it's one of my beliefs it'd be very beneficial for the company." They're quoting you there. And do you know, have there been talks of that moving forward, or is that pure just you saying that you think it sounds beneficial?
No, that's absolutely one of the things that the investors, the venture capitalists, know is the potential next step. And so now that's not like a boom, we're for sure going that route, but that is something that is on the table. And again, I'd love to see that happen. And the reason that I would love to see that happen is because it's my belief that one, more people will become interested in disc golf because they're able to make an investment into it. But two, as a disc golfer that has a investment account or a Robinhood account, I certainly believe that if House of Discs was a publicly traded company that you could buy your shares, buy your stock, as easy as it is on Robinhood to buy shares in a company, I believe that a majority of disc golfers that have interest in investing, they would invest in the business. And more importantly than that, well, I guess each is equally important, but they would also only want to support the discs inside of House of Discs, which means that I would fully expect that you pick up a lot of market share because of that, because, you're actually putting your investment to work, yourself, I guess. And so, we're all going to, if you're a disc golfer, you're buying discs, you're buying bags, you're buying disc golf equipment, you're buying apparel. And what a better way to be, even more passionate about, the sport that we all love so much. And the one that we're so passionate about is to have an actual investment in it. So, I think it'd be pretty exciting. I think, I'd put a few dollars into it.
Does this mean
more than I've already got?
If I more than I think you've put more than a few dollars into that investment side. Does this mean though that I could say that I get disc royalties when I get one thousandth of a penny of dividends? I bought a West Side hatchet, and now I'm getting my royalties back from that purchase.
A tenth of a penny coming back to me.
I think a tenth is too generous, Charlie. I think.
The thing is, I
can't wait.
I don't think you're gonna be able to convert the Team Lone Star disc, folks. I think they got their T-shirt. It's too late. Josh is dying right now. I beg to differ.
I think differently.
So what, let's say, I guess, were you concerned at all? I mean, I've been reading online, people talking about this whole situation, and a lot of people, particularly over on Reddit, are talking about, these private equity firms, these venture capitalists, they're vultures. They're just going to come in. They're going to try to cut costs. They're going to try to, go to anything to make a buck. And they're just going to drive this business into low quality, hurt the employees, et cetera, et cetera. Was there any concern on your side from that? Based on what you know about these couple of firms, Vendus and Equip from Europe?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That was, I would say, my first concern and my most important concern is, what does it look like moving forward, and what is your, true ambition? And obviously, when you hear the word venture capitalist, it's pretty much you go right into what you just described, what's getting chatted about on Reddit. And I think it's important for a lot of people to know that Latitude 64 actually had multiple offers to be acquired by different venture capitalist firms, and they actually had, it's my understanding that they had some more attractive, some higher valuations, higher valuations from some different venture capital firms. But after they met with them, and after they, got to understand what their vision on growing the company was, and vision on disc golf, they didn't believe that they were in alignment there, and they ultimately chose these two venture capital firms that wanted to go in together on this because they truly believed in there being complete alignment there. And I think that says a lot. I've put a lot of trust into the owners over at Latitude 64 over the 10-year relationship that we've had together, and definitely have valued that. We've done all of our business on a handshake agreement. There's been challenging times where we owe them money due to the shipping stuff and how long it takes to get money in our bank account to them to ship over to their bank account. As you're growing, some of those growing pains definitely can pile up, and we've navigated that situation in a really good way over the years. And anyway, after I've been having conversations with these venture capitalists for a year now. They've entered into the disc golf market in a somewhat of a challenging time in terms of, we were all thrown into the tailwinds during the course of the pandemic. And as things changed, we kind of turned around and started throwing into the headwinds. And they're high character people. They are motivated to grow disc golf, motivated to grow the brands inside of House of Discs, and I truly believe they are high character people that are going to just be very supportive of what we're doing. They're not looking to come in and take over the operation. They came to Emporia. They visited our operation during the Dynamic Disc Open last year. Were impressed with what they saw, and of course they know there's room for improvement. We know there's room for improvement, and as we've continued to work with them over the course, of I guess what you would say is the due diligence period. Again, I'm impressed by what they bring to the table. Some outside thinking, different train of thoughts, some real business professional mindset to certain things, but again, also just high character people that I guess align with the morals and values of what I feel like I have, as well as the crew over at Latitude 64. So, all that being said, you never know what the future is going to bring, and I'm certainly just as optimistic as I can be, and I do think that will be the case. So,
all right, well, Jeremy, thank you so much. Congratulations once again, and certainly interested to see what happens with this new. We got a conglomerate. We have a disc golf conglomerate for the first time. So, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Charlie, Josh, appreciate you guys, and look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon.
Sounds good. Jeremy Rusco, founder of Dynamic Disc, with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back to talk some Waco. Welcome back to the Upshot. We've got our second Elite Series stop of the season coming up. It is the Waco Annual Charity Open, of course, in Waco, Texas. And this is Josh's absolute favorite tournament of the year. I mean, he thinks this is a bellwether for the World Championships. Winner here is probably going to win Player of the Year. That's what Josh has been telling me leading into today's show. So, no, but this is an interesting one. I think for a lot of people, this is one of their favorite courses in the early stretch of the tour. And I get that because, we have kind of some of these big open bomber courses, Josh, but Waco is really it's a very well-tuned park style course with all kinds of different shot shaping required and lots of different skills on display. And it's basically the shortest course on tour. That's not official, but it's under 8,000 feet for MPO. It's pretty short, but it's still very challenging, technically difficult, and we see lower scores here than we do at a lot of other tournaments.
It's really interesting because I think that Waco it's funny because Waco is some people's favorite tournament of the year. When it comes to spectators and fans. We get emails every year that talk about how much they love watching this tournament. And you mentioned that both just in early season, but I've seen people say that for nearly the entire season. They say, this is the event that I'm really looking forward to up until, majors and the last little stretch of the tour. And so it's that, I think it's that appeal to some players who want to see, for example, MPO scores that aren't pushing 40 under par like they were at LVC. For reference, last year's winner on the MPO side finished at 23. So that's about, we definitely see tournaments that have significantly lower scores than that. The FPO side shot 9 under for Valerie Mondahano with a scorching 7 under. Not even the hot round, though. The big thing, though, I want to say, I've had some fun. If you're not in the Discord, you're missing out because the Stat Mando guys and I have settled our differences on this tournament. I was chatting with Steve and Evan. We have strongly disagreed about this tournament. And I will admit, it comes from, I think, a poor word choice a couple of years ago on my part when I said that Waco produces fluky winners. Fluky winners. I said that, and Steve admitted us yesterday that this became his hill to die on. That he said because to him fluky meant randomness or other circumstances is kind of what determined the winner, and that the winners weren't quote unquote legitimate, right? And didn't deserve it. And I think that is a poor word choice on my part because that is not at all how I feel. Instead, and we kind of went back and forth with our own statistics. Remember, I had my alternate numbers.
Well, you got to give us the alternate numbers.
I'm going to give you the alternate numbers right now. I was pulling that up right now. So I ran the average. I took their 10 events, really, that have been on tour consistently. This is on the MPO side primarily. FPO doesn't hold nearly as true. But on the MPO side, there are 10 events that have held pretty consistent as Elite Series events since 2017. Sure. LVC, Waco, Jonesboro, DDO, Ledgestone, D-Glow, Idlewild, MVP, GMC, USDGC.
Yep.
Right. In some naming iteration of them, I get.
Of course, yeah.
Right, they've been different. Of those events, Waco has the lowest average winners rating finish. So that is their rating going into the tournament, not their tournament rating, at a 1031.3. Evan pointed out that Waco also boasts 3 of the lowest 5 rated winners in Elite Series history, with Colton Montgomery and Jeremy Colling winning it twice. Of the past 6 years, except for Paul Macbeth, all 4 of the other winners Paul Macbeth's won it twice, have been rated below 1030 or less.
Wow.
LVC is the next lowest at 1037. Idlewild's at 1037. LVC is at 1038, and then everything else is 1040 or above. So
interesting.
Waco also produces the winners have the worst average disc golf pro tour season finish of any other pro tour or consistent pro tour event winner. So if you win Waco, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think what this makes me think of, and it makes sense in some ways. The track at Waco is atypical.
Yes.
It's got tight fairways. There's a bunch of OB. There's like not a lot of opportunities to just air it out if you're a big power thrower. There's a couple holes, of course, 18, but you don't necessarily get a big advantage for being a big arm. And the vast majority of the Disc Golf Pro Tour courses give you a major advantage if you have a big arm.
True.
And that means that the top-rated players win those tournaments because the top-rated players throw the furthest in general. I think that we need more courses like Waco on tour because I think that right now we overemphasize certain aspects of performance on the disc golf course to the detriment of other skills. And I think Waco tests a wide range of skills, more so than many other tournaments. And perhaps that's why we've seen players with lower ratings tend to win this more often rather than just seeing your Pauls, Rickies, Calvins winning over and over and over again.
I would be interested to see, I think the way that you check those numbers is you compare stats of winners vis-a-vis Circle 1 in regulation, Circle 2 in regulation, and putting, and then see if a profile of Waco winners is similar to that of other tournaments.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you would still see the winner come out with good Circle 1 in regulation stats and good putting stats. I mean, those are the things that determine whether you're playing well, regardless of the course that you're playing on. There probably is some kind of statistical analysis you could do to dig deeper on that. But Statmando basically kind of blew you up on social
they
media.
Did. They came at me on Instagram.
With, posting that, most of the winners of Waco have won a major or won another Elite Series within a few months of winning Waco. So it's not like you're just seeing people who have no skill winning the tournament because of random kicks and luck, which Correct. I don't think you're saying that either. But I do think, I will admit, regardless of how you feel about it, I think this is one of the most difficult tournaments to predict of the year. If you look back, over the last 3 years, you're not going to find the same podiums, the same top 5 to 10 players. Like, it really changes a lot. And I think that's because there's a lot of challenging weather conditions, and the course itself pushes players to have to make very technical shots and lots of different kinds of shots. And, we're going to see 15 to 20 mile per hour winds this weekend. It is not going to be easy out there at the Beast. So I had a hard time picking my podiums this week. I know that. I don't think this is a tournament where you can just be like, Paul Macbeth is going to win it and Kristen Tatar is going to win it. Maybe they'll win it, but I have low confidence in any individual player to win this tournament.
You said something to me, but last year after Worlds, we were chatting about the Worlds courses, and we were talking about how the scoring separation was significantly lower at Worlds. It kept it close down the finish, and it made for some exciting drama. And you made the comment that sometimes low score separation and real tight bunched up scores. And for reference, last year Paul did win by 3 strokes. Luke Humphreys was then 3 strokes behind that. Well, and then after that, there's like a grouping of like 5 people tied at 5th, right? So I think that's historically pretty consistent as well. And you made the comment that that can be a result of a course that doesn't properly have scoring separating holes on it. But on the flip side, from an entertainment side, I think there's something that's really intriguing about the fact that we don't know who's going to win. It feels like anybody's game going into it. Do you feel like, are you, I guess you said you want more courses like the Beast on tour. Is it the separation? Or is it simply just the fact you want more courses where the furthest throwers don't gain an immediate advantage in performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think my issue with course design in general right now is that there's not a lot of there's too many courses on tour, and maybe I should say too many holes on tour, where being able to throw it really, really far is the thing that determines whether or not you're going to get a birdie. And I mean, I think this is exacerbated in FPO, where you have, too many holes that are just way too long, and it just like rules out 80% of players from getting a birdie, which,
yes, again,
I have no problem with there being holes that reward long distance throwers. That is fine. That is great. There can even be courses where that is true. But when you think about like how many courses on tour are just long, like how we're going to make this harder, we're going to make it longer. Well, of course, that's a natural consequence of building on a golf course, right? Like, what else can you do? But the problem is you just kind of reward the same types of players over and over again. And so I want to see more, I want to see more woods courses, for instance. We don't really have very many true woods courses. And you mentioned Idlewild as the other tournament where there's like a low number or a high number of low rated winners. Mm-hmm. That's because those players are being left out of the mix on a lot of courses.
Yep.
There's a lot of players who have incredible technical skill, who have great accuracy, great putting, great abilities all around the course, but maybe they just can't throw that far. And they just too often are being left behind on courses because distance is such an emphasized factor. And I just wish that we had a little more variety. And that's why I like courses like the Beast at Waco and Idlewild, where, and I don't think it's a surprise that these are some of people's favorite courses, because it's like, that I feel like that's more familiar to what people play in their local communities too. We're not all going out there to play the 11,000 foot course.
A couple of things I want to add on this tournament, because I think there are a lot of really good things about this course. Last year, though, there are a couple of things to highlight in terms of the tournament relative to some of its peers, not necessarily on the course side, or at least on the layout, I would say, rather. For example, Waco had the lowest Elite Series payout of any event in 2022 at $67,000. It was the only one that didn't eclipse the 70,000 mark. So a little low on that side. And then the other thing, man, and maybe this is something that's just always going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. I had a buddy from Montana go down and do a big, Texas and trip and play Waco. And he sent me pictures of it. And Waco in the summer could be like it looks like a destination golf course. It's green. It's beautiful. The wood section is just gorgeous. And then every time I flip on coverage for Waco, I'm like, this is the ugliest looking course because everything's still dead. And I know that's like, we need the Texas swing in spring. I don't want players in 110 degree heat in the middle of the Texas summer. And I get that. And that makes sense. But man, I wish it was the green beautiful that he sent me pictures of.
Hey, one day, Josh, we're going to be able to go to the Southern Hemisphere for tournaments in the winter and get the beautiful greenery. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. This tournament did have a low payout, but it sold out last year. They had no tickets left. There are still tickets left. Not a ton though. Not a ton. There's some 3-day general admission tickets left. You can get general admission tickets for the early rounds, but weekend mostly sold out. All the VIP stuff is sold out. I'm sure we're going to see packed crowds again this year, with lots of people lining the fairway. This was really cool last year to see the crowds, because it's kind of tight, right? The course has not changed again. It's the same course as it's been for the last 2 years. There's nothing they can do. There's no more land. Which there's pros and cons to that. One part of the fun thing is that because it's so tightly kind of packed into this zone, it just makes for a really cool experience from a television perspective, because you see the fans really close to the fairways, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. So let's
Charlotte,
is it time to get to our picks?
Before we get to picks and talk about who's not playing, I propose we have a new, and it can be at the end of tournaments or before tournaments. This one we can do a little bit before, but I propose we have a new tournament metric of sort that's completely subjective. But I think we should rate every tournament's hole 18 for this season.
Okay, on what, on a 5-star basis?
Yeah, 5-star basis, right? Difficulty, excitement, potential for
love it.
Big scoring differences in order to kind of make up a big gap. All of it, right? Let's rate final hole. So let's go back. Let's do LVC real quick. LVC on the 5-star scale, what would you give it? And remember, a lot of courses.
This is final round course.
Final round hole 18s. So that's the one that, remember, you weren't watching this year, but last year, Gannon throws far, right? Page throws in the water.
The little hill. Yeah.
It has the little, it goes real narrow.
That was the same hole this year, I assume.
It was.
Okay. It's a good one. I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Okay.
4 stars. I like that it has risk reward choices, right? You have to decide whether you're going to try to push the water. Then the approach shot is not simple. If you remember, Paige, didn't commit really, and it went super left and skipped off the green and into the water. And then we had Gannon, who looked like he threw a perfect shot, and it trickled into the OB long. I like where the basket is. I think the putting is interesting there. I think it's a visually very nice hole. I don't want to give it 5 stars because we're just starting out, but I'm going to give it a solid 4-star rating.
I completely agree on the 4 stars. I think there are also the way that narrows up in the middle. I think it makes for such a unique and technical. So often, the longer shots feel, I don't know, it's visually very easy to see, right? It's here's your landing zone. It is this wide. It is not a big shot. And if you want to go and push the distance, which means you're increasing the power, you have to do it with more precision and a lot of precision, right? It's not just, make sure you clear the green. It's, you have to stick it on a dart, really, which Calvin did, surprisingly, the way his disc landed. But anyway, I agree with the 4 stars.
Okay,
Waco,
while we're on the topic of LVC, I understand that you and Dan did not do Purse Watch last week, so we are going to do it right now. Purse Watch number 1 of the season. We're keeping an eye. If you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. Thank you for listening. And as we get started with this season, and we pay attention to the purses at all of these tournaments and track them over time. So this year's LVC, $56,900 MPO payout, $30,890 for FPO, for a total of $87,790. That included $40,000 of added cash. That is up 23.6% from a year ago. Now, just to put that in context, last year's purse, $71,000, just slightly over. That was the second lowest Elite Series number on tour, only ahead of Waco. And so now they're up at $87,790, which, if you look back to last year, would have been one of the bigger payouts on tour, only getting surpassed by some of the majors, Ledgestone, Des Moines, GMC, and MVP. But it was more than Idlewild. It was more than Preserve, Portland, OTB. I think this bodes well for purses here in 2023 because the bar has just been raised a lot at the start of the season. And if everything holds relatively, we could see some $125,000 to $150,000 payouts this year just at Elite Series events, not even at majors.
If it holds, I mean, would you be surprised right now, just based on that number and what we knew about Ledgestone last year, if Ledgestone hits the 150 mark?
Well, Ledgestone last year was at just shy of 125. I think 150 would be an obvious target.
Yeah, I think so too. First, you could claim to be first Elite Series to ever hit 150.
First DGT non-major event, I guess. Not a championship.
First non-major, yeah. Well, you're right, or DGPT championship.
Anyway, nice big improvement to the purse to start the year. We'll see what Waco can do. I think one of the challenges for Waco has been the payout. That's been one of the weak spots for this tournament for a while now. So we'll see what they do this year. No data yet. Okay, now it is time to get to our picks. But before we do that, we need to talk about some players who will not be competing this weekend. Josh, tell us about it.
Yeah, over on the MPO side, you have Simon Lizotte not playing and Anthony Barella. I haven't heard why Anthony Barella's not, but the Simon is definitely the one that I think is going to raise the most concerns. He comes off LVC, really poor final day performance, complaining that his elbow is bugging him, and has talked about that. I think if you are a Simon fan, which I assume we all are, we've got to be a little bit concerned about his health and the longevity then of Simon.
I mean, I don't think you should overstate it here, Josh. I mean, yes, you don't love to see him feeling like he's having some issues early on, but he's also coming on to a new bag, and him taking a time off, to me, is smarter than seeing him try to push through and play through maybe a little bit of overuse to start the year, because you got to get a new bag. You got to sit there and just bomb drivers over and over and over and over and over. I don't want you to like make it sound like it's doomsday out here. Sure.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I really do. But I also see a 30-year-old with a injury history, one event in and having to take a week off. And like, I don't know. I guess I won't go doomsday. That may have been a bit of an overreaction, but I'm a little concerned about his elbow. Like that didn't, and you're right. He's probably been throwing a lot of drives, and I know he said that All-Star he threw too many full power ones, and that kind of affected him. But just hope he's doing well. Hope there's nothing serious. Additionally, on the MPO side, as of right now, did you gonna say something? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Ricky is still registered as of right now. This is being recorded on Thursday morning, and he is still registered, but has said that he's still having wrist issues. Remember, he dropped out of LVC and All-Stars event due to wrist issues, and so there's a chance, keep an eye when you're making your picks. Ricky may very well be a late scratch and not play in this event. It wouldn't surprise me based on what we've seen from him.
Yeah, apparently it's just now starting to get better. And, it's been a little while. So, I guess hopefully we see him back, but I wouldn't count on it. I don't think. I wouldn't count on it. And meanwhile, as of yesterday, Valerie Mondahano was still registered, but she has dropped out, according to the PDGA website. Of course, she's coming off of the ankle sprain, so not ready yet to come back. And I'm not surprised, given the severity of the sprain. It would have felt like it was pushing it when it was initially announced that she was hoping to play at this tournament. You can understand why she would want to play at this tournament. She won it last year. It was like the big, kaboom for her career. She beats Kristen Tatar by 4 strokes, but I don't think she's ready. So we'll have to wait to see Valerie Mondahano's debut this year.
Well, should we get to our picks then?
Well, I think what we should mention is that this is going to be the debut tournament for a lot of players. So we're going to see some new names in the field that we haven't seen yet, and we got to start with the headliner, and that's Kristen Tatar. She did not come out to LVC, but she will be playing this weekend at Waco, and of course, coming off of the unbelievable success that she had in 2022, She's automatically going to be at the top of most people's picks leaderboards. I understand that. We're both going to have to decide whether we want to put her at the top of our leaderboard. She's about 4 months, a little under 4 months out of the elbow surgery that she had in the offseason. Still a question mark. How is that going to hold up? You know, it's one thing. She was able to play through some mild pain that she knew wasn't going to, hurt her through the end of last season. But once you get surgery, it's kind of a different beast. How is she going to be looking? Is she going to look as sharp as she did last year? Are we going to see some rust that has to get knocked off? Or is she going to pick up where she left off? It's going to be a story to watch for sure.
You also are going to have Paige Pierce in the field. Paige, remember, had taken some time off on the early season doing some traveling and chose not to get back and hasn't had the time to prepare for LVC. She is now back in the field for Waco. And I mean, that really brings in then the FPO trio of Kristen, Paige, and Katrina are all in the field again together. And so definitely going to be something exciting to watch there, though that is not how it lines up by rating, which it's crazy to me that, Kristen top rated 988.
Yep.
But Paige is not second in the world anymore.
Nope.
It is Owen Scoggins at 977. Owen Joggins.
Just dogged her way up the leaderboard.
If Kristen has elbow issues and tries to play, let's say Waco, and then let's say does a silver event or Texas States, and her rating drops, could you imagine if Owen Doggins was the number one rated player in the world? It's
what's crazy is that she's not won an elite series with a totally elite rate. I mean, she's higher rated than Missy Gannon. She's higher rated than Paige Pierce. I mean, I think what you're seeing is that is the consistency. The thing is, what wins you a tournament is playing 20 points above your rating.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think Owen does that very often. She's not shooting 1,000 rated rounds very often, but her floor is so high that you're seeing her rating really show you. But I mean, it's a good, shout out to Brody Smith on this one. It's a good point that rating isn't really the story about a professional player and their career. Owen Scoggins is a great player. She's, super fun to watch, but she's also not winning. And has no claim to player of the year conversation, right? At least last year. We'll see what she can do this year. I mean, it's still an awesome story. She's over 40. She's out here number 2 rated in the world. It's amazing. But it's rating is only one part of the story.
Indeed it is.
Chris Dickerson also making his debut this weekend, Josh. He skips Vegas every year.
Pretty.
I'm very curious to see what Chris does this season. It feels like last year was a little bit of a letdown compared to the level that we've seen him at in the past couple of seasons. Winning USDGC and last year, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't very impressive either. I think that
he also won a major.
That's true. That's true. It's easy to forget that for some reason. But
yeah,
I think the bar is high enough for him that it still felt like it wasn't a great year for him relative to what he showed us in the past when he was winning majors and Elite Series multiple.
Mm-hmm. So, and it was. I remember the year before I came on the show, you and Jamie just you had to pick Chris Dickerson on your podium every single week. Not picking Chris Dickerson for second place was throwing away a pick. And
that was during the years when he would kind of play bad in the first round or the second round, and then he would shoot insane hot rounds in the final round to move all the way up onto the podium.
Every time.
Every time.
So Chris has both been more successful in terms of wins, and he's had more consistent finishes on his tournament stretch. So it feels like Chris is in a weird place where you don't trust his consistency at the same level, but you also are curious about does he have it to win it right now? And
I think he does. I think he's going to have a great year, to be honest.
You do.
And I'll go ahead and start us off on our picks then, Josh.
Okay. All right.
I've got Chris Dickerson on the podium.
Okay.
In the number 3 spot in MPO.
All right.
all of the players that I'm choosing on the podium across the board have had success here at Waco in some way or shape or form in the past. Maybe not podium, but top 5 finishes. I think that you want to see players have showed that they can, at some point, handle this course. Mm-hmm. But I also think that there's like enough randomness that I shouldn't say randomness, just different kinds of winners.
I just heard Statmando sharpen their pitchforks.
So anyway, I like Chris to come out in his debut here in 2023 and show that he's ready to have a great year. At number 2 spot, I've got Calvin Heimberg. He's coming off the LVC win. And I feel like Calvin is primed for a monster season. And I think it can continue here at Waco, where he's played quite well in the past. I've got a bit of a surprise winner pick, Josh. I'm going with what would be his first ever Elite Series win, Joel Freeman.
Oh, okay.
And, I don't really think he had a great start out at LVC, but I also don't know that that's the course for him exactly. Yeah. I think that we could see him show us what he's done on these kinds of more technical courses where he's, he has the right blend of skills, power, shot shaping, putting, usually putting, and certainly Wood's talent and like finding lanes through the trees to be really successful here this weekend. And it feels like he's maybe the best player on tour right now that doesn't have an Elite Series win.
All right. I like the picks. On my MPO side, I have Paul Macbeth. My podium is made up of 2 previous winners. It makes up half or 2/3 of my podium. I've got Paul Macbeth in 3rd. Paul is a repeat winner here. He plays well, and it's, we talk about it at LVC, we talk about it here. Paul can win anywhere. And he has demonstrated that time and time again, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be a strong performer here this year as well. Though I think this is a time when anybody, like there are lots of players who, like you said, at other courses may not have that same kind of opportunity because they don't have the distance to match Paul and some of the further throwers. And so I think that we're going to see some people with a little bit other skill sets are going to shine here. That's why I've got my number 2 spot, Nico LaCastro.
Oh my God.
I'm doing it. Nico won this event a couple years ago. He's won this tournament, and he had a strong showing at LVC. First tournament back, and he's finishing in the top 20. So, look, Nico's style sets up so well for this tournament. And it's why he's won it in the past. He finished top 10 last year. I think that if Nico is on a redemption tour this season, it starts at Waco, right? It was
overstable flex is a good strategy in the wind,
especially in the wind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with this wind. Everything in Nico's bag is overstable, and so I really like Nico for 2nd place here. But my winner, not a first time winner, but I'm going with Isaac Robinson.
Wow,
who has strong showings here in the past. He tied for 5th in 2022 and has played well here before. I really think that someone like Isaac is going to have the opportunity, thanks to his putting, as long as he just keeps it clean, like he did at Idlewild where he won, then Isaac's putting is better. Nobody can beat Isaac on a day where he's putting well. And remember, the best compliment I've ever heard in disc golf, Paul Macbeth says, even if I had played my best, I don't think I would have beat Isaac at Idlewild last year.
And the Waco Beast course feels like one of the closer comps to Idlewild on tour.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, nice, Josh. I'm going to go with a little bit more of a chalky lineup in FPO. I've got Owen Scoggins at number 3 on my podium. I do think we're going to see the top players separate here, and we've mostly seen that in the past. The top-rated players have separated. I mean, Valerie Mondahano was a little bit of a surprise last year, but also is one of the top-rated players at this point. So I've got Owen Scoggins at my 3 spot. At number 2, I've got Kristen Tatar. I'm not going to take her to win. I certainly think she can win. She was 2nd here last year. Mm-hmm. first tournament. That's it. Let me see what she's got before I start putting her at the number one spot in the lineup every week, which might start happening. I'm going to be honest with you. But let me see. Let me see how she's looking, how she's feeling, what's going on with the elbow. There's a lot of questions right now. At number one, I'm going to call the back-to-back, Katrina Allen, coming off the LVC win, going to keep it rolling this weekend. She was right there last year, just a few strokes back of Tatar, and I think that her game looks super dialed in right now, and I think, yeah, I'm gonna take her to make it 2 for 2 to start the year.
I have Katrina Allen in my third place. She shot the hot round and final round with an 8 under last year. And remember, the overall winning score was 9 under. So she shows that she has the capacity to really shred on this course. And so I really like her for my podium pick as well. In my second spot, I had Paige Pierce. I really did. And then I remembered, you don't ever pick Paige to do well in Texas. And even if she does, that is an exception and not the rule. Look, I'm going to be the subject of the next Myth Mando now because I just said that.
Well, she has definitely played great in Texas in the past, but
yes.
in more recent history, it has been more of a struggle.
Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to I pulled Paige off my podium, and I am instead going to replace her with Henna Blomroos.
Okay.
Henna took 6th last year. Evelina has won this event before, and I know they're not the same player, but I think there is still, and there are some holes that favor the distance. But the big thing about Henna is she is, and we've talked about this, one of the best throwers in disc golf when it just comes to performance off the tee. And that includes distance, but she's also a very technical thrower as well. And I think that's sometimes overlooked by how great she is in distance. It's just a question of how the putting goes this weekend. And I know that's a big question mark, but she did a lot better at LVC, and final round, she was over 70% in C1X. So I think that she can do it. So I've got Henna in my 2 spot. In my number 1 spot, though, give me Kristen Tatar. Until she gives me a good reason not to pick her to win, I don't want to listen to anybody else's reason to do so. I get the elbow, I get the rust, but until Kristen says, yeah, I don't know, I'm not feeling it right now, I'm going to pick Kristen. I'm picking Kristen to win. So that's my podium on FPO. I do have an over-under, though, for you, Charlie.
Go for it.
All right, so remember, we were talking about stats. The average rating of winners for Waco has been 1031.3. So, over-under, the winner will have a rating going into this week of 1032. Now, that list, 1032 or 1031 and below, is Nico LaCastro, Garrett Gerthy, Kevin Jones, Isaac Robinson, Scott Withers, Alden Harris, Greg Barsby, Adam Hammis, Ezra Aderhold, Bradley Williams, Aaron Gossage. A lot of good players. Got lots of good players, right? Mason Ford. I mean, players who have won Elite Series events before all fall under. I mean, there are lots of them that fall under the 1032 mark. So
sure.
I guess the rating would have to be 1031 and a half.
Okay.
Right,
so I get Andrew Marweed, who's currently rated 1032.
You would get, if you're taking the over.
If I take the over, which I'm going to
get
do.
Andrew.
I'm going to take the over.
You're taking the over.
I mean, look, I got to play the numbers here. I got to play the odds here. And I think it's a cool over-under. I think it really shows you what's going on with Waco. But look, there's just too many good players up above this line for me not to go that direction. I guess I don't get Nico. So you get your Nico, but Isaac, you both your top 2 picks are just shy of that 1031 and a half line.
What a coincidence!
What a coincidence!
I am shook.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'll roll the dice with Macbeth, Wysocki, Dickerson, McMahon, Gannon, Calvin, Matteo, Kyle Klein. The list goes on, Josh.
I'm not going to lie. These dice feel a little loaded that you're rolling.
You loaded them for me, so I appreciate it.
I know I did.
So anyway, there you go. That's a good one. That's fun. Now remember that you can always check out all of our picks and make your own picks and compare yourself against us at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. All right. And make sure to tune in for our live Rapid React show this Sunday, where we break down what's going on over at Waco, and hopefully we can get it in before the Oscars start on Sunday, Josh. I think we'll be able to. I think it's early enough in the year that the round will end soon enough. So that's the plan. And you can become a subscriber for less than $4 a month at discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. Tell a friend about the Upshot. We're trying to grow this audience and get bigger and bigger as we go into this season. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll talk to you Sunday night in the live Rapid React show.